Well, welcome. I think Heather, you might be the only participant right now, but hopefully we'll get more people joining us. Thank you for being here. So today, this is our Scoop of Advice monthly series that we've been having since the start of the school year. Today's topic is going to be healthy relationships for parents, caregivers, and their youth. And we're set to go until 7. And our presenters this evening are going to be Michelle Barron and Derek Sullivan from Kenneth Young Center. Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat throughout the presentation, or you can always unmute yourself and ask directly. It's going to be, a pretty small group here, so we'll keep it pretty nice and casual. And then we'll also leave space and time at the end of the presentation for any other questions that we have or any follow-up to any of the topics that we'll cover today. All right, so let's get started. All right, so Michelle and Derek, do you all want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Barron, and I'm the manager of substance use prevention services here at Kenneth Young Center. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And this is my colleague, Derek.
Hi, everyone. I'm Derek. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm one of the substance use prevention project associates.
Thank you. And sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Marian Lopez. I work at Kenneth Young Center as well. And my pronouns are she and her. Okay.
Perfect. So Kenneth Young Center provides mental health services for people ages 2 to 99, and we have offices located in the Elk Grove, Village, Hoffman Estates, Mount Prospect, and Schaumburg area. We also have a multitude of services, including mental health, prevention, and recovery services. For more questions about specifics of these services, you can visit our website or give us a call at the number on the screen. So before we get into talking about healthy relationships and what healthy relationships look like, let's begin talking about communication. So communication is the basis of any and all relationship, whether it be with coworkers, friends, or family, or a romantic relationship. Communication is the basic foundations of those relationships. So we have a definition here. So communication is defined as a transmission and reception of information through verbal and nonverbal, visual and or written expression. I always tell the people in my life that communication is key. Without it, misunderstandings and other things can happen when we don't communicate with one another. So when practicing healthy communication, remember these 8 intellectual traits. So the first one is integrity. So hold yourself to the same standards you hold others. Fair-mindedness, remain open-minded to the validity of others' opinions. Confidence in reason, so respect others and your own ability to think critically. Courage, so advocate for your values no matter the status quo. Humility, acknowledge your mistakes and embrace modesty. Empathy, practice compassion for others, perspectives, and experiences. Then we have perseverance, so continue to express yourself even in the face of adversity. And finally, we have autonomy, so more than trust, but stand tall in your truth. So those are the 8 intellectual traits when practicing healthy communications. Another thing that can affect our communication styles is our identity. So your role in your family, culture, and occupation will affect yours or your youth's communication styles. So in the family, what role do I play in the household? You can ask yourself that question. Am I the caretaker, the child, guardian parent, grandparent, partner, sibling? That will change how you communicate with others in your household and how your youth communicate with others in the household as well. Occupation, what responsibilities do I fulfill? And then culture, what principles do I have? So all of that will affect those communication styles that you have, as well as that your youth has. There are 4 type of attachment styles that affect our relationships, and the type of relationships that one seeks. So the first one is secure. So this person is confident, resilient, non-reactive. Anxious, preoccupied is the next one. This person is emotional, hungry, fantasy bound, lack of nurturing, and then turbulence as well. Dismissive, avoidant. Isolation is one of the characteristics. Emotionally distant is another one. And then we have fearful, avoidant. This attachment style, this person has internal conflict, dramatic, unpredictable. So those are some of the characteristics for each of the 4 attachment styles. Awesome. So then we have healthy relationships, healthy family relationships. So we learn how to love from our families, attachment styles from early through our relationships with our parents, caregivers, and our guardians. Healthy family relationships have the following characteristics. So in a healthy family relationship, family members repair the damage that has been done. They encourage emotions. They practice unconditional love. They build each other up, and they also listen to each other. Um, we have love languages that we like to receive from others and we like to give to others. So knowing this will better inform you better inform your youth about what they're looking for in relationships. And again, it does not have to be a romantic relationship. So we have 5. The first one is words of affirmation. This is about expressing affection through spoken words, praise, or appreciation. When this is someone's primary love language, they enjoy kind words and encouragement. Then we have quality time. Love and affection are expressed through this love language when someone gives someone else their undivided attention. Physical touch is the next one. So a person with this love language feels love through physical affection. Those who have physical touch as their primary love language feel love when their partner shows physical affection in some way, like holding their hand, touching their arm, or giving them a massage at the end of the day. Who does not love a nice massage at the end of the day? The next one that we have is acts of services. So they feel loved and appreciated when people do nice things for them. So again, the person can, wash dishes for that person, vacuum. Again, who does not love acts of services? I love it when, my partner does the dishes and I don't even have to tell him. That is a good day in our household. Then we have receiving gifts. Gift giving is symbolic of love and affection in their mind. So they treasure not only the gift itself, but they also value the time and effort that the gift giver put into their gift. So knowing your love language and your youth's love language will make you feel better connected to them. And this can also be a conversation starter on what they enjoy in their relationships and start talking about what it looks like to have a healthy relationship. Awesome. Now let's talk about healthy relationship qualities and what to look out for in your youth's relationship. So there are 7 listed here. The first one is mutual trust. The next one is respect, honesty, equality, kindness, boundaries, and good communication. Those are all indications that someone is having a healthy relationship. So remember, when going through this presentation, we're not only talking about romantic relationships, we're also talking about friendships, relationships that they have with their, teachers, with their family members, and so on.
So now that we know a little bit more about what healthy relationships look like and a little bit about attachment styles, let's dive into what makes relationships unhealthy or toxic. Unhealthy relationships are when one person tries to make most of the decisions. They may pressure their partner about sex or refuse to see how their actions can hurt. In an unhealthy relationship, you feel like you should only spend time with your partner. They are all about lack of mutual respect, failing to respect a partner's boundaries, and an inequality of power and control. If you feel like your child is spending a lot of time with their partner and not as much time with their family, friends, or spending as much time on their hobbies, then that's a warning sign. If you notice any of these red flags, it's time to talk with your teen. So, unhealthy relationships are when one or both partners are not communicating, disrespectful. So, this can look like when one or both partners is not considerate of the other's feelings or personal boundaries. Not trusting is when one partner doesn't believe what the other says or feels entitled to invade their privacy without their permission. Dishonesty can appear when one or both partners tells lies or keeps information from the other. Trying to take control is when one partner tells the other what to do, what to wear, or who to spend time with. One partner often feels that their desires and choices are more important. This partner is often unreasonably jealous or tries to isolate the other from their friends or family. Intimidation is often used to control aspects of the other's life by making the other partner fearful or timid and only spending time with your partner. This is something that's really common nowadays, but it can be unhealthy when your partner's community is the only one that you socialize in. While unhealthy relationships are based on attempts to control the other person, abusive relationships are based on an imbalance of power and control. Relational abuse is a pattern of abusive or coercive behaviors used to maintain power and control over a former or current intimate partner. This is when one partner is controlling all the decisions about sexual choices, friend groups, boundaries, even what's true and what's not. Those in abusive relationships often spend their time solely together and feel like they can't talk to other people, especially about what's really happening in the relationship. Physical abuse is any intentional, unwanted contact with you or something close to your body, or any behavior that causes or has the intention of causing you injury. 1 in 10 high school students may have or have already experienced physical aggression from a dating partner. Emotional abuse includes non physical behaviors such as threats, insults, constant monitoring or checking in, excessive texting, humiliation, isolation, or even stalking. This kind of abuse causes deep emotional pain and scarring and may lead to physical abuse. Sexual abuse refers to any behavior that pressures or coerces someone to do something sexually that they don't want to do. Any kind of forced sexual contact is abuse and should be taken seriously. And lastly, digital abuse is the use of technologies like texting or social media to bully, harass, stalk, or intimidate a partner. Abuse can be hard to spot, especially if your child or the person who is abusing them is trying to hide it. That doesn't mean that you should go snooping. Respecting their privacy is an essential part of maintaining trust, but keeping an eye out for early warning signs of abuse can help you identify if they're involved in an abusive relationship before the situation escalates. Signs of abusive relationships to look out for include checking your phone or email or other social media accounts excessively, putting the other down frequently and in front of others, isolation from family and friends, extreme jealousy or insecurity, explosive outbursts, temper or mood swings, any form of physical harm, possessiveness or controlling behavior, and pressure or forcing sex. If you do notice these signs, remember that it's important to respect the decision they make for themselves if you want them to trust you. Abusive relationships are extremely complex situations, and it takes a lot of courage to leave. Abuse is about power and control. When a survivor leaves their abusive relationship, they threaten the power and control their partner has established over the survivor's agency, which may cause the partner to retaliate in harmful ways. As a result, leaving is one of the most dangerous periods of time for survivors of abuse. Common reasons people stay in abusive relationships are fear. A person will likely be afraid of the consequences if they decide to leave their relationships, either out of fear of their partner's actions or concern over their own ability to be independent. Normalized abuse. If someone grows up in an environment where abuse was common or where a traditional two-parent family wasn't modeled in their homes, they may not know what healthy relationships look like. As a result, they may not recognize that their partner's behaviors are unhealthy or abusive. Shame. It can be difficult for someone to admit that they've been or are being abused. They may feel that they've done something wrong, that they deserve the abuse, or that experiencing abuse is a sign of weakness. Remember that blame shifting is a common tactic that their partners may use and can reinforce a sense of responsibility for their partner's abusive behaviors. Intimidation. The survivor may be intimidated into staying in a relationship by verbal or physical threats, or threats to spread information, including secrets or confidential details. For the LGBTQ plus population who haven't come out yet, threats to out somebody may be an opportunity for abusive partners to exert control. Low self esteem. After experiencing verbal abuse or blame for physical abuse, it can be easy for survivors to blame those sentiments and believe or to believe those sentiments and believe that they're at fault for their partner's abusive behaviors. Lack of resources. Survivors may be dependent on their abusers, and their abuser's friend network may coincide with their own. They may not have anyone that they could talk to about the abuse, and oftentimes do not know where to go to get support or help. And finally, love. Experiencing abuse and feeling genuine care for a partner who is causing harm are not mutually exclusive. Survivors often still have strong, intimate feelings for their abusive partner. Oftentimes, survivors hold on to the hope that their partners will return to being their old selves. If you think your child is in an abusive relationship, your instinct is probably going to be to try to get your child out of that relationship as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, ending an abusive relationship is never as easy as simply leaving, and efforts to make your child's decision on their behalf can isolate them further. The best support you can offer is motivated by unconditional love and trust that they are capable of making their own decisions. Some tips to keep in mind when trying to support your child are to first listen and give support. Be supportive and non accusatory in conversations about your child's relationship. Reassure them that their partner's behaviors are not their fault and that no one deserves to experience abuse. If they open up, it's essential to be a good listener so that they feel comfortable returning to you for help. If they don't open up, don't be disappointed, blame them, or overreact. Let them talk to you on their own terms and meet them with understanding when they do. Accept what your child is telling you. Believe your child, even if what they're telling you is hard to hear. Your child will likely be reluctant to share experiences out of fear of how you'll react. Showing skepticism could make them less likely to share things about their life and ultimately drive them closer to the person abusing them. Offer your unconditional support and make sure they know that you believe them. Show concern. Let your child know that you're concerned for their safety by centering their experience in your conversations. Remind them that they deserve to be treated with respect and that the abuse is not their fault. Focus on behaviors, not the person involved. Remember that your child may still have feelings for the person who's harming them. Discuss the abusive behaviors you observe, not your personal feelings about the people involved. Avoid ultimatums. Your child has the right to make their own decisions. Resist the urge to give them ultimatums or punish them by making decisions about their abusive relationships that you dislike. If you force the decision, they may feel further isolated and return to their abusive partner. Trust that your child knows their situation better than you do, and that they'll make the right decision and leave when they're ready. Be prepared. Educate yourself on dating abuse and help your child identify the warning signs of unhealthy relationships and behaviors, and discuss what healthy relationships can look like. Identify relationships in your family that exemplify these qualities and help them understand the ways that you could support them. And lastly, decide on the next steps together. The final decision about what to do has to come from your child themselves. Ask what next steps they'd like to take and help them to find support to do so, including additional support if they're too uncomfortable discussing the situation further with you. Now, you may be thinking, I don't want my kid to ever get to the point where they may even possibly be in an abusive relationship. There must be a way we can prevent this. And you're right. We have the ability to teach our children about healthy relationships from a very early age, starting by teaching them basic consent. Consent occurs when someone gives permission for something to happen or agrees to do something. As you could see from this definition, consent doesn't only revolve around sexual activity, it is actually ingrained into our everyday lives. Consent is an ongoing process of discussing boundaries and what you are comfortable with when interacting with others. It's all about youth empowerment and healthy relationships. The best way to teach consent to your kids is to start early. After all, consent is all about respecting other people and talking about your feelings. These are the things that lay the groundwork for healthy sexuality and relationships later on. Throughout their childhood, make sure that you are encouraging them to ask before acting to make sure that what they are doing is okay. You can also practice consent with your child by asking them if something is okay before you act. Model consent and show them that it's a regular part of our everyday interactions. Some ways that you can ask your child for consent is asking things like, can I pick you up? Can I hold your hand? Can I hug you? Would you like a cookie? So just making sure that these things are okay before you act. And this also includes, you know, people that you interact with, other family members. Try to stay away from encouraging them to just pick up your child and just hug them and kiss them whenever they want. Try to make sure that everybody in the family goes along with this model and making sure that you ask before you do anything with or to a child. Um, and some ways that your child can practice asking for consent, asking you for consent, or any other person is statements like, can I pet your dog? Will you hold my hand? Can I play with you? Can I have a cookie? So before they do anything, just making sure that if it's an action upon another person or another person's property, that they're making sure that they get the okay first. And that's just the beginning. Now we get to the fun part, the birds and the bees, talking openly about sex and relationships. It's never too early to talk to your child about healthy relationships and dating abuse. Researching the issues and starting the conversation, even if you don't think that your child is dating yet, are some of the most important steps you can take to help prevent dating abuse. Kids and teens who have regular conversations with their parents or caregivers are less likely to take risks with their sexual health and more likely to be healthy and safe. Talking with your kids about sex, relationships, and their health is a lifelong conversation. Doing a little bit at a time instead of having the talk takes pressure off of you and allows your child time to process the information and ask questions along their journey. Find ways to introduce the subject by talking about their friends or peers, abuse that they may see at school, or examples from your own life or the media. Ask and encourage questions. Identify options and resources and encourage open discussion, making sure that you maintain a judgment free attitude towards whatever it is that they're saying. Avoid lecturing and admit it when you don't know something, and keep the conversation low key. If they're not ready to talk or you aren't ready to listen, let it be and try again another time. Now let's take a look at consent under a sexual relationship lens. It's important to teach our children that sexual consent has to be all of the following. It has to be mutual, meaning both parties agree every time for every action. It has to be freely given, a choice that you make without guilt or pressure. Consent has to be informed, meaning you understand what's about to happen and aren't under the influence of drugs or alcohol. It has to be clear and certain, meaning it's a yes, not a maybe, or I think so, or I guess so, or shrug, or anything like that. It has to be a clear and concise yes. It has to be enthusiastic. So you're excited and you want to be touched. Reversible, you are able to stop or change your mind at any time. Consent has to be specific. Saying yes to one thing doesn't mean yes to everything. And it also has to be ongoing. You need it before and during the activity, as well as next time. Teach this to your kids. Consent isn't just a one-time yes. It is much more complex than that. Assure them that if they have questions about consent, you are there to answer them. The best way to keep your child safe and healthy is to stay involved in their lives and set some boundaries. Here are some good ways to stay involved. Ask open-ended questions about their day at school, like what was the most memorable part of your day, or How are you feeling about your new teacher, class, or school? Ask about their friends and get to know them and their parents. Encourage them to spend time with the kids that you think are good influences. Always be aware of which adults are around when your kid is at or is out or at is out or at others' houses. Ask them questions about what they're up to online. Encourage them in their hobbies and interests. Make sure that you're present at all of their games, recitals, etc. whenever you're possible. And always be open to their questions. As kids grow into preteens and teens and start to become more independent of you, setting some reasonable boundaries will make them less likely to engage in risky behaviors such as drinking, smoking, having unprotected sex, or having sex before they're ready. Establish clear boundaries like curfews, dating, and rules about substance use, and check in regularly to be sure that those expectations are being met. You can make this a conversation with your teen too. By listening to them and allowing them to negotiate, it shows that you respect them and understand that they are becoming more responsible for themselves. Get to know your kids' friends, their parents, and especially the parents of anyone your kid may be dating. Know where they're going or who they'll be with, and don't allow preteens or teens to spend a lot of time alone outside without adults present. Stay up to date in their lives. This doesn't have to be nagging them. It could just be an emotional well-being check-in because you care and you want to know more about their lives. And again, always be open to their questions, no matter what they are. Opening up a dialogue and conversation about relationships early on can help them open up over time and get information along with their questions. As parents, you have a responsibility to be there for your children through their relationships, and it doesn't have to be awkward or difficult if we normalize these conversations. Your child's journey is their own, and the best way that you can keep them safe is to be a non-judgmental, open listening ear, and someone that they can turn to no matter what. While it's very important to have the discussion about sex, parents should also have the talk about love in order to protect children from unhealthy relationships. By teaching children the key elements of healthy relationships, teens and young adults are more likely to have healthy, long lasting relationships.
Perfect. So know that you're never alone and you can find support for you and your youth. So below are some resources right on the screen. We have our Kenneth Young Center Teen Resource Guide that you can find on our CPYD Coalition website. It has a bunch of resources from mental health to crisis to sex ed. All of that is on the Teen Resource Guide. We also have the crisis text line there. You can text home to 741-741. The Trevor Project is an LGBTQ plus specific resource. That one's a really good one to call. That number is 866-488-7386, or you can text START to 678-678. Another really good resource is Love is Respect. You can visit their website or you can text Love is to 22522. Another great resource is My Plan app. You can download My Plan app on your phone. You can use your camera phone right now to scan the QR code on the screen to download it. My Plan is a free app to help with safety decisions if you or someone you care about is experiencing abuse in their intimate relationships. It's private, secure, personalized, and backed by research. Another really good resource is talking to your youth counselors, social workers, teachers. Those are really good resources to find out if this behavior is also, if you're suspecting of this behavior, talking to them about if it's happening at school, if anybody is noticing those things of an unhealthy relationship, though they're a really good resource to talk to and get some more resources as well. So this is the end of our presentation. Our next scoop of advice will be on May 19th. That one is in English. And then on May 20th, that is in Spanish. Look on our website for more information and to sign up for our next scoop of advice. Our website is cpydcoalition.org. And we also want to give a huge thank you to La Michoacana for partnering up with us for this event and for their delicious treats. Please check them out if you have a chance, because they have a great menu with many delicious different types of ice cream popsicles, very, very good. If you have any questions, you can email Derek or I, and one of us will get back to you as soon as possible. We will also be, these slides can be found on our CPYD website, CPYD Coalition website, as well as previous Scoop of Advice topics. Also, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We post a lot of different resources and information about different topics like mental health and substance use prevention, are just very few of the topics that we cover on our social media channels. So thank you for joining us. I hope that you continue to enjoy this beautiful sunshine weather that we are having. So thank you.
All right, thank you to our speakers. Like Michelle said, we'll have the recordings available within the end of the week on our cpydcoalition.org website. And we'll also send everybody who registered for this event information on the following Scoop of Advice sessions. All right, so thank you to our presenters, Michelle and Derek, and have a good night, everybody.